Radio Split Ranch.
Hello and welcome once again to Radio Split Ranch, a monthly visit with the Capital Region's great broadcasters of the past and sometimes present. I'm Warren Garling when I'm not on the radio. For all the great women I've had the chance to work with and listen to on the radio in the great Northeast over the years, I've been finding it challenging to track them down and get them on this podcast. That's why I'm very happy I sought out and landed this month's guest. Not only did she find solo success on some great local stations, but she teamed up with some big names in our industry, both here and elsewhere. She shares some great stories and air checks of her work with us this month. Let's catch up with Lisa Walker. We've just been talking before starting the official podcast here that Lisa Walker and I have probably met. She knows the name Chris Warren. I knew the name Lisa Walker. We may have even been in the same building at the same time, and yet we've hardly gotten to know each other. So we're going to do that now. Lisa Walker, thank you very much for your time today.
Well, thank you, Warren. And I'm guessing that you're referring to the bunker.
Oh, yes. Great memories from the bunker. I worked there from 88 to 92 and had a ball. And so let's talk about, those days in a few moments here. What tell me first of all what led up to the bunker. Where are you from and how did radio come into your life?
Oh, so you really want to know from the beginning. Okay.
I do. Absolutely.
Okay,
I need to know how you got drawn into this crazy business.
First of all, I have to admit that I did something that I advise all my students, I'm currently a high school teacher, against. And that is, do not go to a college just because you want to follow your true love or who you think is your true love or your boyfriend or whatever. And that's what I did.
Okay.
I could have gone to Syracuse University, which would have been an amazing school for broadcasting.
Sure.
But instead, I chose to go to Brockport State because, this boy that I really liked was going there. But here's the upside of that. The upside of that is that I wasn't a number there because the broadcasting department was very good there, but it was small enough that it was personal.
Nice.
I loved the radio station there. And I was in the television and radio program, but I went and I did internships in television and a lot of TV and video classes.
Cool.
But radio really kind of got me seduced.
Okay.
And so I was at WBSU at the radio station there. I graduated college in 83, but in 1982, I'll never forget it. I was home in Syracuse for April break, school break, college break.
Yeah.
And I was doing the bar scene with a friend of mine. And one of the program directors for 95X, the major rock station in Syracuse, was doing a Saturday night thing.
Okay.
And his name was Ed Levine. You probably know it.
I know that name
Ed Levine.
for sure.
Yes, a legendary programmer and incredibly, amazingly successful radio company CEO guy right to this day. But anyway, I had found that he was doing a DJ night, and I slipped him one of my cassettes from my college radio station.
Well, good for you.
And he called me the next morning and said, I want to hire you.
Nice.
And I wasn't even out of college then. I was only a junior. And so before I even thought about how I was going to do it, I said, yes. Okay, great. And so I drove from Brockport to Syracuse every weekend until school was out.
Yeah.
And then I worked for 95X, I think, throughout the summer. And then I had to go back to college.
Well, sure.
I wasn't. And he understood. And so I went back to college. And then when I got out of college, I don't think they had an opening at 95X at the time for full-time. And I wanted full-time radio.
Sure. So
I got a full-time job at a station called Sky 101 in Syracuse. It was the rock of the 80s. It was that whole, the new wave. You would hear like Flock of Seagulls, and then you'd hear the Scorpions segue together. It was just too much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun. Absolutely loved every minute of my time at Sky 101. Bernie Kimball, God rest his soul, very well-known Rochester PD, was the PD there at the time, and he really got me started.
Yeah.
And then I got the attention of KISW in Seattle.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I moved thousands of miles across the country to work at KISW, which is one of my dream stations to work at, bucket list station.
14 years of Seattle's best rock, 209 years as the United States of America. We're celebrating it all weekend long at FM 100, KISW, All-American, All Request. And coming up next, I'll have the latest from a guy who not only shares the same first name as one of our founding fathers, but he's also from the very city that's not too far from where the same guy crossed the Delaware River 209 years ago. And I ask you, what could be more American than George Washington? But Wilmington, Delaware's George T. Thorogood and the Destroyers, KISW. Yeah.
And worked there for, I don't know, about a year and a half, maybe close to 2 years.
Okay.
And then I really felt homesick. Like I really wanted to be back in upstate New York. And lo and behold, Ed Levine was at 95X still. He and I had kept in touch over the years. And he said, look, I can use you here if you're willing to move back.
Nice.
And I said, yeah, I am. So I moved back to Syracuse and worked at 95X on their AM station for a little bit of time at night.
Yeah, what a great weekend song that is. On 95X, the best classic rock and the best new rock. 95X is Syracuse's best rock. And you just passed the Street of Dreams and around the corner from your imagination. We're talking the Stratocaster Lounge. Open for business for another night. I think I'm going to head over to that big Grove booths that I have in the back. All my fellow Baker High alumni are there hanging out for the big homecoming game against Liverpool. But they do have their designated drivers with them if they are drinking. Because the motto here is if you're going to drink, don't drive. And if you're going to drive, don't drink. How about some CZ Top? 95X is Syracuse's best rock.
I knew that eventually I was going to be put on the morning show with a guy named Chris Rivers, who I adored. It was wonderful to work with. And we had a great time doing mornings at 95X. And then Ed Levine got the job at Pix 106 as the PD.
Okay.
Now I'm going to stop you. Shortly after that, he brought me.
Okay, I'm going to stop you before we get too deep into all the changes here and the movement, because I'd like to know, when you went to Brockport following your boyfriend, what did you think you were going to be doing? I mean, did you immediately major in? Okay, you immediately majored in broadcasting.
Television.
Okay.
I wanted to be honest with you. Totally honest with you. I wanted to be female sideline reporter for football.
Really? Interesting. In football.
I love sports.
Yeah.
Yep, love sports. And women were just starting to get into it. Like, I don't have any names, but
sure.
Oh, God. I can't remember her name, but she was a beautiful woman. The one that there was I don't remember.
That's okay. That's all right. But that's what you wanted to do.
I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in trouble, but she was a pioneer in her day.
Okay.
For her race and her femininity. She was both female and she was also of a race that you would not expect. And so she was a pioneer. She was wonderful. I can't remember her name, but I wanted to be like that.
Okay.
I wanted to be like a sideline reporter for football. I totally was all about sports. And yeah, that was how I started.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to start producing news packages, like being a reporter.
Okay.
And it just didn't work out.
No,
I did internships in TV, and I don't want to say anything that's going to offend anybody, but I just felt like there was a little bit of shallowness in television that there was not in radio.
I gotcha. Yep.
I never liked the way I looked on TV.
Okay.
And I always and they told me that I would have to have a nose job.
Oh my gosh.
And all my teeth would have to be completely veneered and everything, and that nobody would pay for it. I had to pay for it myself. And my nose was too big and my hair was too thin and everything. And I said, you know what? This is too shallow. I thought that the content that I was going to put out on TV was more important than what I look like. Well, you know what? It's not. It's not. Lauren,
unfortunately,
it's not.
That's just TV.
No, it's not. That's right. So that's how I gravitated to radio.
See, it was easy for me because my mother always told me I had the perfect face for radio, so, and I tell people that it's absolutely not true. I mean, she thought I could be a movie star, that's how much she supported me, but.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I ended up in radio, and it just worked out that way. And then when Ed was interested in hiring me, and I wasn't even out of college, I was like, this person really believes in my talent. He really believes that I could make a name for myself on radio, which I'll forever be indebted to Ed because of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that was and that's just a chance meeting too, for you to go to this event and for him to be there and for you to, to slip that cassette to him. Did you always go around carrying a cassette of your work in your purse?
Always. Always.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, I can't remember the kind of car that Ed had, but I think it was a Trans Am or a Camaro. It was something like that.
Yeah.
And I was joking to my friend. My friend was like, do you think he's actually going to put that cassette inside of his car stereo and actually listen to you?
Oh, yeah.
But he must have done it.
Yeah, if he called you the next day, absolutely.
He did the next morning.
Yeah, that's just crazy. I mean, I didn't even...
I was actually half asleep.
Yeah, I didn't even call dates the next morning half the time. Don't tell anybody.
There you go. There you go, yeah. And I'm like sitting there, I was staying overnight at a friend's house.
Yeah.
So we didn't have cell phones back then, not in the 80s.
That's right.
So I don't even know how I ended up putting her number on there. I just don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
All I know is I'll never forget that phone call as long as I live.
Oh, sure,
and I couldn't sleep I don't think I slept for days after that.
Yeah, exactly.
Knowing that I was going to be on the radio a week later, I was going to be, and I'll never forget, it was Mother's Day in 1982.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first time that I cracked the mic open on a rock station. Now, I did do a little bit of on-air stuff at this little station at Brockport, but it was a tiny little station. It was not, I don't even think they got into Rochester.
Yeah.
I think it was just a small station. So I don't really want to count that. That was like an internship more.
Sure.
But this was like the real deal.
Yeah, sure. Well, and that's exactly what happens. I was, 16 years old, about to be 17 in the summer of 69. And a guy that I had just basically knew on the phone at a local radio station calls me up while I'm babysitting my cousins and says, can you work on radio this weekend? And I said, are you kidding me? And I wrote a memo about it. It's called I'll Have to Ask My Mom, because that's exactly what I said to him. I said, well, I'll have to ask my mom. He said, well, how do you think I found you? I've already called your house. And your mother says, yeah, she can get you to the station this weekend. And that started a 51-year career. Just chance, absolute chance. And not what I knew, but who I knew. He knew I could do it. He just knew from talking to me on the phone and me telling him that I had my own little basement radio station and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's just crazy how these things happen and all the little details that you've probably forgotten by now, but you just know that it was the right place at the right time. That's crazy.
Yeah, so you know what else too is my students that I have in high school.
Mm-hmm.
They will never understand how incredible and how amazing radio was.
Oh yeah,
an influence on people's lives in the 80s and even in the 90s.
Yeah,
and I'm going to even say early 2000s. I think it kind of died around the mid 2000s.
I agree.
It's sad. It's sad, but
it is. It's too bad.
But they will never understand that you and I were major celebrities.
Oh, yeah.
Major.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and all I wanted to do, I didn't care about the money, thank goodness, because you never made any. All I wanted to do...
No, you never made any, so you can't care about the money.
Exactly. I just wanted to make people smile. I just wanted to have some fun. Yeah. If they smiled at the song or something that I did in between the records, that's all that mattered to me. That's what I was shooting for. Yeah. So let's get back to where you were. So you went out to Seattle, and after a couple of years, you're homesick. You come back, and you wind up at 95X, which is where Ed Levine again changed your life, because he moves on. Yeah, and he
moved on to Pix.
Winds up at Pix, and
he hired me as a promotion director and overnights. And let me tell you, it was the worst situation for my body and mental health but it was the best situation for my career. So if you could imagine that juxtaposition, it's like, it was like I literally went to bed at 6:37 in the morning, and I literally only got 3 hours of sleep, had to go back to the station at 10:11.
Oh, jeez.
And then I had to meet with Bob Mason and the morning show and people like that because they were major players in the market at the time.
Sure.
And I had to do all their promotions. I don't think I got any sleep.
Yeah, well, sounds like you're burning the candle at both ends for sure. Yeah.
Totally, yeah. Then eventually what happened was they moved me to the night shift, which was better because at least I got some sleep.
Okay.
Capital Land's Pix 106, 70s at 7. They used to call themselves the Cosmic Corn Cob and the Amazing Mountain Daredevils. I'm glad they settled on the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. Jackie Blue, BTO ahead of that, some Allman Brothers Heart. Lisa Walker here. Yeah, I'm celebrating a birthday this weekend. And I was looking at a snapshot that was taken on my birthday in 78. And, you know, it was one of those ridiculous shots that your parents take when your face is all puffed out and you're blowing out the candles. Well, looking more ridiculous than my face was my clothing. I had on those fatigues, those awful clogs that were so hard to walk in, and a Mickey Mouse T-shirt. It was Mickey's, I think it was his 50th back in 78. And the Mickey Mouse shirts were all the rage. Anything Mickey Mouse, of course, was wild back in 78. Well, I'd love to hear from you with your 70s memories and 70s requests. You know the phone number, 476-WPYN.
I was moved to music director, which is what I really, really wanted because I always wanted to be a PD. So they moved me to music director. And so that was not as intense as promotions.
Sure.
It was intense on music days, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, with our music ad days and stuff. And it was intense. But then afterward, you could go, okay, so music days are over. I can breathe a sigh of relief. Whereas promotions was 100% nonstop.
Oh, yes.
I want to tell you right now, anybody who's listening to this, if you have or ever will be a promotion director, I worship you. I think you're amazing. And you deserve way more kudos than you were ever given in the radio days.
Yeah, and that's
probably
the
were given.
That's the unfortunate part, is that these folks do work their butts off and not for a lot of pay and not for a lot of glory. Nope. They're the people that make us look good when, you know, we're personalities and we're the ones out there, and make us sound like, whoa, man, he got me Springsteen tickets. That's pretty cool. Well, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It was the promotion director that managed to get that contract. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I really, really enjoyed working as the music director, and I love working, you know, the night show. It was still tough, you know, not a lot of sleep.
Sure.
And then I caught the attention of WKDF in Nashville, which was another bucket list.
103 KDF celebrating 20 years rock in Nashville, wrapping up an air guitar, no talk, triple play with an exclusive Billy Idol's Cradle of Love. Foreigner coming up, Stevie here. And at 10:30 tonight, the guitar god with the multicolored hair, Steve Vai, will be taking your calls on Rockline during the first part of the show. And then during the second part of the show, it's Giant. Now, if you listen to me at all, you know that the guys live here in Nashville. At least most of them do anyway. We're always calling and leaving a funny messages on their answering machines. But one of the guys, I guess, is going to be doing his part of the show from one of the Music Row recording studios in Nashville. So we absolutely must get Nashville on Rockline tonight.
It's so funny because KISW in Seattle and KDF were both on my list of bucket list stations that I'd want to work for, and I actually worked for both of them.
That's very interesting. And was that from research you had done, or you saw that they were represented well in the media, or what do you think?
You want to know the honest truth?
Please.
Remember when Radio and Records, that trade magazine, used to send out airchecks? And I would always find the cassette laying around somewhere.
Yeah,
you know, the PDs would always leave it laying around somewhere. And I would always listen to it and I'd be like, wow, I want to work there.
Yeah.
There were other stations I wanted to work for too. I mean, there were a lot of stations in the Midwest that I wanted to work for, like Wheels, WLLZ. I wanted to work there in a heartbeat. I wanted to work there. And then there was a station in St. Louis that I wanted to work for. So there was a lot of stations in the Midwest that I wanted to work for because they just were so rock and roll, heart and soul. Just amazing jocks, amazing personalities. But I got to tell you, KISW had it all. So did KDF. And I was so fortunate to have been allowed to work. I want to say allowed because I really feel like I was very fortunate. And so I got hired at KDF and went down there, moved down to Nashville, and was nights and assistant program director there.
Nice.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. But again, homesick.
I was going to ask you about that because the only time that I made a real big move, and in retrospect, probably not the best thing best decision I ever made. I went to Tupelo, Mississippi, okay, because of a college roomie who was programming a station down there, and he brought people in from Ohio and Florida and me from upstate New York, and he was from Pennsylvania via Iowa, and all of a sudden it clicked. For about 11 months, and then it imploded. But the bottom line is, I guess you have to have an experience like that to know whether or not you're on the right path.
That's right. And so I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But I always had in the back of my mind, I don't want to stay here forever. My father had recently been, he worked several jobs over the years, but his most recent, before he passed away, his most recent work was for the VA hospital. He was a chief of prosthetics for the VA because he also had a prosthetic leg, so he could relate to the veterans. Yeah. And so he worked in Birmingham, Alabama at the VA hospital there. So the chance for me to go to Birmingham and work for the sister station of KDF allowed itself. And so they said, look, we can send you down there. The downside is that you're not going to be full-time on the air, but you're going to be full-time APD.
Okay.
And so I really wanted to be with my parents, and they lived there. And so I lived with them. I know this sounds like, living in your parents' basement. It wasn't like that. It was because I was really homesick.
Yeah,
and I'm very close to my parents.
Okay.
So I had the chance to move down there, and it wasn't ideal because I wanted to be on the air full time. But what a great station, though. Oh my God, WZRR. We were the voice of the Crimson Tide. We were a rock station doing the sports broadcasts like that before it was the cool thing to do.
Gotcha.
Now a lot of stations are doing it.
Sure.
A lot of, even my old station, my alma mater, old station at Syracuse, TK is doing, I think Syracuse, they still do Syracuse football, I think basketball. And so it was amazing to be able to be a part of the whole Crimson Tide thing, Roll Tide.
Wow, sure.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Great people. It was a classic rock station. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Nice.
And the best part was I was able to live with my parents.
Nice.
Which was great because I could save some money. And then 95X wanted me to come back again.
Okay.
Yep. And so this time it was owned by different people.
Okay.
Jim Levin and Bill Vassar, who were absolutely wonderful people to work for. Jim Levin, the company, I think, was called Pilot Communications at the time because Jim Levin is a private pilot.
Okay.
They had heard that I wanted to come back to Syracuse, so they brought me back. And so I ended up doing promotion director again, nighttime again, not again, not ideal.
Yeah.
But it was a way for me to get back home. And so then I ended up doing PM Drive there, and then eventually moved to Morning Drive there. And that's when I got the attention of K-Light and K100, which eventually had me move in with Rick Mitchell, which I was with him for 4 years.
Interesting. Now, see, I'd forgotten that.
Brings us to that point.
Yeah. Now, and I'm sure he mentioned it. I interviewed him a few months back. That's probably been 2-3 years now. When I talked with him, I enjoy every one of these interviews. But boy, trying to retain a lot of this stuff, especially you guys that moved around a lot.
Right.
If you listen to any of the early interviews I did, we started counting how many radio stations and adding them up. And it turns out that most people work at about 10 stations during their career, if they had a career of any length. Yeah, absolutely.
So that was great. So, I mean, I was back at 95X. Absolutely loved every minute of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when K-Light contacted me, and it was, John Knott was the PD at the time, who was a wonderful person as well.
Absolutely.
And the Most Music Morning with Rick and Lisa, 7:12, a dozen after 7. Have yourself a great day and a happy Valentine's Day. And it love songs in it are songs of unrequited love like that one.
Sure is. Little Texas there, What Might Have Been. And before that, Whitney Houston, Run to You.
Some sun by this afternoon, but cold, and the high 28 degrees.
To the top
full and we're gonna get married. Well, Valentine's Day means big business for the many quickie wedding places in Las Vegas.
And we're on the line with the Reverend Charlotte, of the Little White Chapel in Las Vegas, which has been in business for 65 years. Even more amazing is the fact that in addition to the chapel, they have a 24-hour drive-up wedding window.
Reverend, how does that work?
Well, you just drive up, and a lot of people don't even take their seatbelts off or stop the engine. They just hand the marriage license through the drive-up window, and the minister pops out and says their marriage vows, and they live happily ever after.
They don't ask whether they want fries with that, huh?
Yeah, it sounds to me like you worked with some good folks.
I love everybody I worked with.
Yeah.
Warren, I don't really have a problem with anybody I work with.
Isn't that great?
Loved them all.
Yes, yeah. I found that to be the case. I actually was PD for a while, for quite a few years at WGNA, and I can't remember, maybe with the exception of one or two people that worked for me. Everybody in my career has always been a joy to work for, whether I was full-time or part-time in the business. Yeah. And I just had breakfast this morning with Joe Gallagher again. And Joe is just such a mainstay in this market, for so many years. And he's mentioned on Facebook today, and everybody's saying they miss him so much from Weekends on GY that, they really believe and I agree, he still should be doing it. But it got to the point where it wasn't fun for him anymore, which is why I'm not on the radio. I do pretend radio. It's called a podcast. And it's fun doing this, and I still feel good about doing this, whereas radio got to the point where it just wasn't fun anymore, The
other problem I have with radio is that I personally don't want to commit to having to always be there all the time.
Sure.
Because as I've gotten older, I have some health conditions that can flare up every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And what if I don't want to do a show?
Yeah.
And then there's weather. It's like, what if there's a horrible storm? I don't want to have to drive in because I don't have to.
Exactly.
Back in the old days, when I did morning drive, I had to drive in at 3:00 in the morning. It didn't matter what the weather was.
Sure. And you're out before the plows, and people don't realize this, but you're on the air telling people don't go out. Don't you love it?
Yeah, right. When I retire, I'm probably going to end up doing some kind of a podcast. And
good.
And thanks to you for inspiring, because what you are doing is inspiring to me and other people, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to focus on, but I'll probably do something.
Yeah. So tell me how, from K-Light and working with Rick for those months and years, how does that wind up leaning toward what you're doing now, which is teaching? How's that all happen?
What happened is that Rick and I were, together for about 4 years, and then K-Light transitioned to K100.
Yep.
You might remember they had the gorilla mascot and all that.
Yep.
And they had employed some other people like consultants. The consultant that they had employed basically wanted his own people there.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, Warren, I don't have any ill feelings about that, because that is just the nature of the business.
It's true. Yep.
And it's just like, people can say what they want about our president or presidents in the past. Presidents will hire people that they want in their cabinet because they're their people.
Yes.
It's no different. It's no different with PDs.
That's true.
PDs and consultants want their people. So did I like the fact that this guy didn't want to work with Rick and I? No, but he had every right.
Yeah.
He had every right to do what he did because he wants to work with his own people.
True.
And I respect that.
Okay.
And
cool.
so yeah, I respect it. But here's the thing. What that did was that allowed me to do some of my own research. And I realized that we're going to voice tracking people.
Mm-hmm.
Radio
you saw it coming.
I saw it coming.
Yeah,
I said, radio is not going to continue to be what it is now.
Yeah,
and I better shite or get off the pot. If you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so my parents had suggested, actually, they said, you always were really good with the interns, which I always was in charge of the interns wherever I was in radio. I was always in charge of the interns. Don't ask me why, but that was my job.
Okay.
And I was very successful with them. And so they said, why don't you look into going into teaching? And so I contacted my high school. My high school had a radio station.
Okay.
in Baldwinsville, New York, WBXL. And I contacted my high school teacher from the radio station. And I said, what teaching certification do I need to get to be able to teach radio and television? He said, nowadays it's called technology. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, it used to be called shop. And I said, oh, okay. I said, what's the best school? He said, Oswego State is the best school for that. So I'm not Warren, full-time to Oswego State for 2.5 years.
Wow.
I lived in the dorms. I lived in the dorms.
Dorm with teenagers?
Not with teenagers.
Okay.
Luckily, Oswego State had one building that was, I don't want to say it was 21 plus. It was not teenagers. It was
good.
Older
Smart.
people. I don't know what the rules were. I'm going to say it might have been.
Maybe
it might have been 21 plus.
21 plus,
All I know
31
is that
plus. Yeah, whatever.
the bathroom was still down the hall. I still had to go down the hall in the middle of the night when I had to go pee. But I had my own room with a double bed, and I had a full fridge and a microwave, and I was okay.
Good for you.
Oh my God. Yeah. The expense, it was so expensive. 2.5 years.
Wow.
College degree number 2.
There you go.
And then I had to go for college degree number 3.
Oh,
because
geez.
in New York State, you have to have a master's degree to teach. So yeah, so I went through all that, and that was how I ended up as a teacher.
That is quite the turn, but like you said, you felt you could do it and you wanted to do it, and obviously you became successful at it. When is all this happening? In the early 2000s or earlier than that? Okay.
Yeah. When I got out of college at Oswego, when I tell you I had so many job offers to the point I was still living with my parents when I wasn't at the dorm.
Okay.
My parents lived in a suburb in Baldwinsville outside of Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
So summers, I was home with my parents. I went to my parents' place every single weekend. So, yeah, because I stayed at the dorm at Oswego. I stayed there. And then on the weekends, I came to my parents because I also worked in radio, too. I worked in radio on weekends, every single weekend.
Okay, cool.
I worked for Ed Levine again.
Why not?
My favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite PD ever. I worked for Ed Levine, and he wasn't the PD at the station. I think he was one of the owners.
Sure.
But I worked for his stations. And every weekend I came home and did radio. I did 3 shifts part-time and and then went back to the college and stayed in the dorms. And then in the summer, I was with my parents. And so what I'm trying to say is that I got so many calls for teaching jobs that my parents literally had to turn off the ringer for the phone.
My
because
gosh.
It was one school had called. I'm not making this up. I had to do a bar night because I was still working radio. Remember,
Sure.
I was hosting a bar night for TK99, TK105 in Syracuse. I was working for TK99 and TK105 in Syracuse, and I was working for K-Rock in Syracuse and Utica. So I was working all those stations while I'm still in college full time.
Unbelievable.
Driving back and forth like a maniac. And so I was doing a bar night, and a school calls. I'm not going to say which one. It was a Rochester area school. Calls up, talks to my mother, says, we'd like to talk to Lisa. My mother said, she's working. She didn't want to say I was at a bar.
Yeah.
She's working. Can you have her call us back? Yeah, I can have her call you back tomorrow. No, we want to talk to her tonight. That's how desperate they were to hire people.
Yeah.
And so when I got back from the bar night at like 12:30, they called me. And my mother's like, we got to turn this phone off. This is ridiculous. It was so ridiculous that I was getting so many calls.
Wow.
That's how in demand a technology teacher was at the time.
Yeah.
When I was fresh out of Oswego State. But I took the job at Colony High School.
Oh, wow.
As you know, I used to work in Albany for many years in radio.
Sure.
So I took the job at Colony High School, and I actually lived in Colony when I worked with Rick at K-Light. So I said, hey, why not just come back to Colony? And I'm very, very fortunate that the school did allow me to teach television media type classes for many years that I was there.
Nice.
Towards the end, no, they did not. And that's okay because things evolve and things change.
Sure.
And what we need to teach students changes. We need to teach them different things as the years evolve.
Well, sure.
Right now, I'm going to just indulge, if you don't mind, I can indulge a minute.
Please.
Skilled trades is where it's at, Warren.
Yeah.
AI is not going to replace a plumber anytime soon.
Exactly.
And so I'm also, ironically, getting out of teaching at a good time because I am not qualified to teach skilled trades. That's where my certification is heading. So I better get out while I can and retire.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like I got out of radio just in time.
True.
And now I'm getting out of the teaching just in time. I have no bad feelings. It's just the way things evolve.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for you.
That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And now when I retire, I want to do something kind of like what you're doing, only maybe with a different spin on it. So
absolutely.
I'm so happy to talk to you about it and glad that you're going strong with your podcast and everything.
Yeah, I do this, and I've got another one that I do for my old college because the college in Boston went under in 1979. It's called Graham Junior College, and you may have worked with some people that went through there. And the trick is, since it went under, there are a lot of names that are disappearing. Folks that these are people, not only some that like my roommate first semester in college was the guy that created ALF for NBC. Okay. Another friend of mine is Mark Summers, who did Double Dare for a whole generation and has gone on to great success on Food TV and a few other places.
Oh, yeah.
But then there are the guys that produced the Olympics or that were cameramen for soccer all around the world. Or, these are folks that had a great time in college and have great memories of this school, even though the school's long gone. So I've done like 40, I think I just did my 42nd interview of folks that went through Graham Junior College in Boston back in the 60s through the late 70s. And between these two podcasts and a few hours a week at the information booth at the Albany International Airport, I've got a week. I've got things to look forward to and things that I can do that keep me busy so that I'm not, sitting on my butt, reading the latest, biography of Mark Twain, which I'm enjoying also, but so that's what you have to look forward to. Just a little stuff, work when you want to sort of stuff, and it'll keep you busy, in retirement, and you'll use all those great skills that you've used all your life.
I'm telling you, the airport gig sounds like a lot of fun because I'm not only a huge travel geek, but I'm also an aviation geek too.
Well, there you go. That could be fun. Well, I can tell you that we've got a good group of about 15 to 20 people that work there. Most of us work just a few hours a week. So it's, quite a few folks working, just a few hours. Don Fields, if you remember that name from radio in the area.
I love Uncle Don.
Well, Don's the guy that kind of turned me on to this. I had lunch with him one day and he said, this is what he was doing 2 days a week. He was doing this. And so I hopped on board about 2.5 years ago. And openings don't come up too often, but when they do, we have a guy that is just great at recognizing communicators and folks that he knows are going to enjoy talking with people. And that's us. That was our business.
Yeah.
So now I'm just doing it for 7 hours a week and on call. And it's just, first of all, it gets me out of the house, which my wife Marie loves, because, you have to have some downtime. You can't be together 24/7 and survive as we have for 48 years. So, you do some things on the side and have some fun as we both do. So
yeah.
I wish you the best of luck in retirement. You're saying that this July, you'll be a free agent. Is that how I was looking now?
July 1st is my official retirement date from full-time teaching. So
Nice.
I'm still going to sub. I'll still sub-teach. And
Good. Yeah.
I do need to work, hoping to find something to keep myself busy and engaged in the future. And I'm not sure what that's going to be yet.
Well, that's the fun part about retirement. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, you'll find something else to make it work. And I just, Lisa, this has been a heck of a career with some great radio stations on this list. And I'm just so thrilled we got a chance to kind of review it all. And I just wish you the best of luck in retirement. it's all it was cracked up to be, let me tell you.
Thank you so much. It's been great talking to you, too, as well. I'm looking forward to one of those lunches where people get together from our radio days.
Absolutely. You're now on the list. I've got your email, and so you'll know when it's happening. We're going to do it again next month. I hope that, especially after you retire, you'll find time to be able to sit with us for a couple of hours. We have just such a ball, and you'll know a lot of the people because you worked with them over the years as you came in and out of the market. So thank you again for all the time and all the great entertainment you've provided over the years.
Well, thank you.
Radio Split Ranch.
Before I start recording interviews with each of my guests, I always remind them that because we're recording, I can edit out anything that makes us sound less than professional, like your ahs and ums and long pauses while we try to remember names, etc. I often spend 3 times as much time editing these podcasts as I do recording them. So this month I thought, just for fun, I'd keep track of how much time I actually edited out of the interview. Now, this is not any knock on Lisa or a confession on my part of how many times I say but a full 7 minutes wound up on the old cutting room floor, as they used to say, just this month. And if I did it right, you didn't notice too many of those cuts. Thanks again, Lisa, for your great contribution to New York radio. Well, if you know me at all, you know that weird coincidences happen to me constantly. I have a ton of Smallbany stories of people I bumped into while traveling around the country. And I got this morning's Wordle in 2. So after talking to Lisa about my old college and mentioning some famous folks I attended with in this interview, I randomly chose this month's ending aircheck from the 50 CDs full of 50-plus years of airchecks of me. And you'll get a kick out of what I mentioned in this clip from 99.5 The River, this time of year back in 1995. Also note that while I record this, the wind chill is 20 below zero outside in this mid-February. Not so in the weather check you're going to hear here. Hope you get a kick out of it, and you'll visit us again next month. In the meantime, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened.
The River, 99.5 WRVE. Brian Ferry and Roxy Music from back in 75. Love is the Drug. Jackson Browne before that. The Girl Could Sing. She could, yeah. And Peter Frampton from one of the biggest selling live albums of all time. Of course, Frampton Comes Alive. That's Show Me the Way. 6:02 Saturday. I'll show you the way all the way till 10 o'clock this morning. My name is Chris Warren. This is the Rock and Roll Breakfast, and they are the Moody Blues. It's the greatest rock and roll of all time, all day, without all the talk. The River, 99.5 WRVE. The River, 99.5 WRVE. Let My Love Open the Door. There's Pete Townsend, Elton John. Before that, Goodbye Yellowbrook Road. Started out with the Moody's, song that takes me back into the summer of I guess it was early 1970, yeah. Reminds me of Pat Ripley. It's a name way, long time ago. High school, romance, all that stuff. Yeah, that's Tuesday afternoon, 14 minutes after 6. 6:14. It is a Saturday morning, and it is Chris Warren on the radio till 10 this morning. We call it the Rock and Roll Breakfast, and well, let's keep it coming. Here's some Yes on the River. The River, 99.5 WRVE. There's Steve Winwood, Valerie. And yes, before that long distance runaround, one of my favorites. 22 after 6, 6:22. I play a lot of my favorites here. That's what's fun about getting together with you on Saturday mornings. It's not only your favorite music, but mine too. Got the latest forecast from the River coming up momentarily. What else do we have? Oh, still to come. Some James Taylor and REM, they're coming to town, right? Yeah. Oh, that's what I thought. Yes. Okay. All that coming up. Here is that latest forecast from the River, your FM weather station. Mostly sunny and mild with a high around 43 today. Yes, this is February 18th. You don't have to check the calendar. It's just going to be gorgeous this weekend. Tonight, mainly clear, low 22. Tomorrow, some increasing clouds, still mild. Chance of an afternoon shower, high around 48. Right now, under partly cloudy skies, have 19 in Albany, 18 Schenectady, and 20 in Troy at this hour. From the River,
Central Avenue, Colony.
Whatever the weather, this is where you'll get it first. Your FM weather station, The River, 99.5 WRVE. The River, 99.5 WRVE. Rock and roll without the hard edge. The River. River, 99.5 WRVE, coming June 20th. Yeah, and the tickets are just about gone already, I believe. Yeah, REM coming to the Nick Arena in June. And that, of course, Man on the Moon, talking about Andy Kaufman, the guy that I went to college with. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the radio before, but Andy went to the same school I did. He was a year ahead of me in college, Graham Junior College in Boston, where, by the way, Hank Nevins also graduated. And Andy was wacko back then. Yeah, he used to do, it was a broadcast school, so we had TV and radio stations within the school, and he used to go into the TV studio and do a lot of the shtick that he wound up doing on national TV back in the mid-'70s. This was in the early '70s. And he was, some called him a genius, some called him a fool, but whatever he was, we miss him. That's, of course, REM's tribute to him. And James Taylor before that, Shower the People. It's 6:36, Saturday morning with Chris. The River weather word is mild. Yeah, going to be a pretty nice one. And the River reminds you, St. Mary's Institute in Amsterdam is holding a sports autograph auction. Begins at 1 o'clock Sunday the 26th. That'll be a week from tomorrow, correct? Yeah. Features autographed items from a number of well-known athletes like Nancy Kerrigan, Larry Bird, Warren Moon. And you can call us for more information. Yeah, 1-800-99-5-WRVE. Still to come, Mike and the Mechanics. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are next on the River.
My name is Officer
Allstate Indemnity Company, Northbrook, Illinois.
Here's the gentleman coming to the Nick on March 21st with the Heartbreakers right here. Tom Petty on the River. The River, 99.5 WRVE. There's Mike and the Mechanics with Taken In, and also heard from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Breakdown. Don't do that. No, we'll keep you moving forward this morning on the Rock and Roll Breakfast. I'm Chris Warren. In the NBA last night, Knicks beat the Heat 191 the final there. Celtics lost, but it took 2 overtimes for the Clippers to beat them, 127-121. I guess they went to sleep in the last few minutes. In the NHL last night, Islanders and New Jersey tied 2-2, and the Bruins beat Florida 5-4. In the AHL, the Rats beat Syracuse last night 3-2, and in college hockey, a couple of winners. RPI beat Yale 4-3 at the Fieldhouse, and Union took on Princeton, beat them 7-4. Here's the latest forecast from the River, your FM weather station. Mostly sunny Mauer tomorrow, and a high around 48. Of all things, we have a partly cloudy sky now, 19 in Albany, 18 Schenectady, and 20 in Troy. Also have some great stuff coming up. Todd Rundgren is standing by. He's next. Boz Skaggs and Fleetwood Mac as well. And we got an old Beatles B-side for you, as they used to call them when there were 2 sides to a release. All coming up on the River. Here's our math lesson for this morning. More music plus less talk equals 99.5. Keep listening. It all adds up to the River. 99.5 WRVE. The River, 99.5 WRVE. There's the Chain, Fleetwood Mac from, of course, Rumors. And Boz Skaggs before that. Breakdown, dead ahead. Just watch out. We'll keep you updated on the whole road thing here in a few moments. Todd Rundgren, hello, it's me. All on the River, 99.5 WRVE. Here's that flip side we promised you from the Beatles. Remember what the flip side of All You Need Is Love was? Probably still is. Baby, You're a Rich Man on the River. The rock and roll that you can take to work. The River, 99.5 WRVE. The Cars on the River, 99.5 WRVE, and You Are the Girl, you know that. Poco before that, Crazy Love, and the Beatles, as we mentioned, did Baby, You're a Rich Man from back in the mid-'60s. Saturday morning, rock and roll breakfast with Chris Warren. How are you this Saturday? Got a beautiful one dawning, 19 degrees and some sunshine heading our way with mild temperatures today. Have the full forecast for you coming up, but let's keep the rock rolling. This is Procol Harum on the River. The River, 99.5 WRVE. Keep on loving you. There's REO Speedwagon. And before that, the Procol Harum live in concert with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra doing Conquistador from back in 1972. All on the River. Still to come, some doobies. Also got the latest from the Eagles standing by. 7:21 on a Saturday morning with Chris. And listen for our River mini concerts, all getting ready for next week. 9:50 in the morning we play these. The lineup includes Ron Stewart on Monday. Did I say Ron? I meant Rod Stewart on Monday, the Zombies Tuesday. Wednesday, it's Neil Young. We got the Cars on Thursday and Jackson Brown Friday. And, of course, Monday morning, our featured artist, the Doobies, who are coming up, as I mentioned, in just a few moments. All on the River, 99.5 WRVE. Here's the latest forecast from the River, your FM weather station, mostly seen in Troy from the River. No silly games, no complicated contest. We've got just an amazing variety of rock and roll here on the River, 99.5 WRVE.
westbound running.
The River, 99.5 WRVE, rock and roll without the hard edge. The River, 99.5 WRVE, summertime 1969. Where were you when Crosby, Stills, and Nash had their first single release from their first album, Marrakesh Express? I remember distinctly having that on album, on vinyl. And one night when I was out, my brothers decided they were going to put it on, my younger brothers, and they played it. And they were messing around in the room, and of course, something got thrown and something hit the needle, and it put a permanent skip at the end of Marrakesh Express, where it would kind of skip a couple times and go to the very next cut, which I believe is Guinevere on the album. And anyway, just something that comes out of your head when you're thinking about songs that take you back. And that's it, Marrakesh Express. Eagles before that, Learn to Be Still from Hell Freezes Over. And Doobie Brothers, Depending on You. Thanks for being here this morning. We do depend on you every Saturday morning. We thank you for making us the most listened to Saturday morning get-together. The Rock and Roll Breakfast, we call it. I'm Chris Warren. And we do have a weather word that is pleasant for today. Forecast coming up in just a few moments. The River wants you to know that the Homeless Action Committee is holding its second annual Sleepathon this coming Friday, February 24th. That'll be held in Townsend Park. The Sleepathon will raise public awareness about the homeless and much-needed funds to help keep the program open. For more information, you can phone our toll-free River Lines number, 1-800-995-WRVE.
And you'll never have to clean up after using it.
To advertise on the River, call 452-4810.
Let's steal away with Steely Dan on the River. The River, 99.5 WRVE. There's Billy Joel with that little bit at the end you have to wait for. You have to wait for it on the River. How are you this Saturday morning? That's still rock and roll to me. Glass House is the name of the album that came from Billy Joel. And Steely Dan before that from Asia, that's Peg. We're about 14 shy of 8 o'clock. That's 7:46. And what do we got here? The NBA last night. Yes, we had some winners and we had some losers, but that's what the game's about. Knicks beat the Heat 100-91 last night, but the Celtics lost. Took 2 OTs, but the Clippers beat them 127-121. In the National Hockey League, Islanders won, and so did the Bruins. In the American Hockey League, local action, Rats beat the Syracuse team 3-2, outskated them. And in college hockey last night, some victories for a change. RPI beat Yale 4-3 at the Fieldhouse, and Union took Princeton 7-4. We've got the latest weather forecast from the River. You'll have to excuse me. I'm still getting going this morning. I can't believe this forecast. I'm just, awed by it. Your FM weather station tells you that we have a mostly sunny and mild day ahead. For the end of February, not too bad. Middle of February, high around 43 today. Tonight, mainly clear, low 19 in Troy. Still to come this hour, or, in just a few moments from now, actually. Jackson Browne, he's coming up next, actually, along with music from the Moody Blues, the Rolling Stones, and we have a one-hit wonder from Toronto who got their shot at one of the world's foremost music venues, even though they never even got into the top 20. Should be interesting. Coming up on the River. The River, 99.5 WRVE. Lighthouse, and their only top 40 hit, went to about number 24 on the charts back in 71, excuse me. And Bob McBride singing lead on that. They're the group that did all right for themselves, despite the fact they never had a real huge hit. I mean, that's the biggest they ever had. They recorded a live album in Carnegie Hall in 1972. So obviously it was big enough to get them to Carnegie Hall, and that always looks good on the resume, don't you think? Before that, some music from Moody Blues and Jackson Browne. Moody's did The Other Side of Life, and Jackson was running on empty, which we're not doing this morning. We got all cylinders cooking, plenty of gas, and we're going to keep the rock rolling on the River. Here are the Stones. This is where mornings mean the most music. Catch the Rock and Roll Breakfast on the River, 99.5 WRVE. The River, 99.5 WRVE. There's Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, What I Am. We got Edie's hubby coming up in just a few moments here. Paul Simon with his partner, Art Garfunkel. Stand by for that. Before the music from Edie Brickell, we heard Traffic, a song you probably haven't heard in a while, called Freedom Rider from John Barleycorn Must Die. That's Chris Wood on the flute, by the way, kind of backing up Steve Winwood's lead vocals there. And it all came to you following the Rolling Stones' Ruby Tuesday just moments ago as well. One of the first Rolling Stones songs I ever bought on a single back all those many years ago. Let's not think about that part of it. 8:21 Saturday morning with Chris Warren. It's the Rock and Roll Breakfast underway. Thanks for joining us. Hey, it's got some fun tomorrow night at 11 o'clock. Who's next on the Sunday CD, you ask? The Who, that's who, and it's exactly what the name of the album is, Who's Next. You'll hear the 71 release uninterrupted tomorrow night, 11 o'clock on the Sunday CD, only on the River. And that's the only album, as I think back here, that I've actually had 3 different copies of. I wore out the vinyl version, bought it on cassette back in the 80s, and realized, boy, that was a mistake. I mean, the fidelity was awful. And then when I got my CD player, bought it on CD. So obviously, take it from me, it's a great album. Who's Next tomorrow night, 11 o'clock, Sunday CD on the River, 99.5 WRVE. Here's that latest AccuWeather forecast from the River, your FM weather station. 2 in Troy at this hour. Rock and roll and weather too. Your FM weather station is the River, 99.5 WRVE. The River, 99.5 WRVE, rock and roll without the hard edge. The River, 99.5 WRVE. She's not there. Zombies music back in the 60s. Blind Melon from their self-titled album. It's called No Rain. And Simon and Garfunkel were faking it on the River, 99.5 WRVE. Tip of the hat this day to the unidentified concerned citizen I read about in the TU this morning. Troy, a man saw a 77, he's a 77-year-old Troy man. He spotted a young man knocking a 70-year-old woman to the ground and grabbing her purse yesterday afternoon. And he went and followed the purse snatcher at a distance, kept his distance, but followed him, watched him go into a house, and then turned around and called police with the address. Police came, found the guy hiding under the bed, and arrested him. And the witness said, yeah, that's the guy. And I guess he really hurt the woman, too, broke her arm in the whole 9 yards. So good for that 77-year-old citizen in Troy that took it into his own hands, but, did it nicely and did it the way you should. Don't get, that involved, but get involved enough that you can help the police. Police were very pleased with the outcome of that one, and of course, that's what it takes. So tip of the hat to that gentleman who was not named in the paper, but he knows who he is. It's 8:35 on a Saturday morning. The Rock and Roll Breakfast is underway, and the River weather word today is pleasant. Yes, it is. The River reminds you, 1 in 5 adults has difficulty reading. In fact, I do at this very moment. The Literacy Volunteers of Schenectady, they can help us. For more information, call us right here at the River, 1-800-995 WRVE.
Hello.
See you there. Here's some American music on the River. The River, 99.5 WRVE. There's Lindsey Buckingham, late of Fleetwood Mac, and Trouble. America before that, Sandman. I believe that's from their first album, if I'm not mistaken. And I may be, because it's Saturday morning. I'm Chris Warren. Thanks for joining us, especially to Army and the gang over at Capitol Printing in Schenectady. Thanks. We appreciate it, guys. We're going to get back on track here in a few moments with the Hollies, the Beatles, Tom Petty, and a lot more rock and roll without the hard edge. And we appreciate you being there this morning. In the NBA last night, Knicks beat the Heat at 22 in Troy from the River.
Don't go anywhere.
1-800-995 WRVE.
The River, 99.5 WRVE. Eagles, Hotel California. Before that, Tom Petty, A Face in the Crowd. And we heard from the Hollies, Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress from back in the early 70s. All on the River. It's a Saturday morning. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it no matter where you might be this morning. The calls have been coming in. Thanks from Troy, and also heard from Cobleskill today. Hey, we appreciate all the calls, and thank you for being right here at the River, 99.5 WRVE. Why not? The Beatles are here even. Yeah. From current to rock, should we try this again? Do. From current rock to classic rock, it's all right here. Without all the hype, The River, 99.5 WRVE. The River, 99.5 WRVE. I know, it sounds like Steely Dan, but actually it's one half the duo. It's Donald Fagen. IGY, What a Wonderful World. Before that, Thompson Twins, Hold Me Now. Stephen Stills did Love the One You're With, and the Beatles started out with Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Saturday morning, Chris Warren, and we're having a good time, enjoying the music. So we're going to get back to it. We've got some Nazareth coming up, and some Phil Collins as well that you may not have heard in a while. 9:21 on a Saturday morning, the Rock and Roll Breakfast underway, and the latest forecast from the River, your FM Country. Now, I haven't said that in a long time. And this is going to be a problem, you see, because we're now saying FM weather station, and it's going to happen. And we're talking like 8-9 years ago, long time. Well, anyway, mostly sunny, mild today, high 43. Tonight, mainly clear, low 22. Pay no attention to that man behind the microphone. Sunday, increasing clouds and mild with a chance of an afternoon shower, high 48. It is partly sunny and 29 in Albany, 29 as well in Schenectady, 28 in Troy at this hour.
We're coming. Colony.
No heavy metal, no rap, just an amazing variety of rock and roll. The River, 99.5 WRVE. The River, 99.5 WRVE. And both sides of the story. There's some Phil Collins. Before that, Nazareth and Love Hurts. 9:34 Saturday morning with Chris. River weather word this hour, sunny. It's coming. Yeah, give it some time. It's coming. And the River wants you to know that the National Kidney Foundation is revving up its car campaign again. You can get rid of that used car of yours just sitting around the house, sitting out in the driveway, in the backyard, covered with snow from a couple of weeks ago. They'll even tow it away free if that's what it needs, and you get a tax deduction. Not a bad deal. Call our toll-free River Line number for more information. 1-800-995 WRVE.
Salisbury.
The River, 99.5 WRVE, showcasing the fantastically talented and gone too soon Keith Moon. What a great drummer he was. From Who's Next? That, of course, is The Bargain, The Who. And we're going to do the whole thing tomorrow night, not just The Bargain, but all the cuts from Who's Next. Tomorrow night on the Classic 71 release, on the Sunday CD. That's what he's trying to say. Tomorrow night, 11 o'clock, right here on the River. Check it out. Should be good. Linda Parsons is standing by. She's got Bruce, Dave Mason, Spencer Davis Group, and coming up next, the Ides of March. And certainly, we'll be able to do a better job than I've done in the last few minutes. I know, maybe I'm falling back asleep again. That's what happens when you wake up a little before 5 o'clock in the morning. But we'll get it together, do this again next week, even better. You hang in. And, of course, the rock and roll continues without the hard edge momentarily on the River. The latest forecast from the River, your FM weather station, in Albany and Schenectady, 28 in Troy.
Lita Day.
Whatever the weather, this is where you'll get it first. The FM weather station is the River, 99.5 WRVE.